Well, hey, listen, thank you for doing this, by the way. When we first talked, it was probably a couple of years ago, and you were just starting your journey. So
Hmm.
it's been a while since we've touched base. So what has happened? And I remember the one time we were talking, and I think you pulled into a gas station and you were getting your car filled as you were driving in on your way to work.
That probably is very accurate. Yeah, I mean, I know we connected many years ago through LinkedIn, right?
Yep.
We stayed in touch, and initially I started my career I studied accounting. I got my CPA license. I started my career at KPMG. I started auditing asset management firms in New York City, a lot of heads down type of work. I did that for a few years and quickly realized this does not go well with my personality and where I envision myself to be. It has been an amazing journey nonetheless, because to be able to get through, the CPA exam, that's not easy.
Oh
The
yeah.
accounting world, get hired by one of the best accounting firms in the world. In itself was a big accomplishment to do all of that. Be in conversations with really senior leaders and deal with different type of clients. Um, but then, for those who may or may not know, when you're in the accounting industry, especially with the big four, you're working a lot of hours, especially during busy season. It can be very difficult to manage your schedule, and you really just have to work, and that's it. That's your priority. That's all you do. And at the time, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. It was my second busy season, and she
Wow.
was starting chemotherapy. And I couldn't really be there for her like I wish I could have, to be honest. And that was one of also the biggest pushes I had, because I thought, there's no amount of money that's worth me not being there for my mother during a hard time like this. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I'm in a position where I can't take time off to be there for my mom in a situation like this is just not the career for me.
Mhm.
Um, so after my second year, I decided to look for a different position, and I was lucky enough to find an international sales position within still the same firm, because KPMG overall is a great company, I do want to say. And I've been doing that for a few years, dealing with more international relations, doing workshops in different countries. So it completely, definitely aligned more with my role and who I wanted to be and the type of work I wanted to do. And throughout all this time, I've also been growing my personal brand on social media. I do a lot of public speaking events with the things I'm passionate about, which now has led to amazing things. But to those listening, I'm a very big proponent of, just because you have a specific type of role and you do a certain kind of work does not mean that you cannot dive into different things and follow your passions and dive. And everything starts as a hobby. Everything starts as just like, I want to try this thing, right? And then if you're good at it, if you get really great feedback, more doors are going to open. So ever since I was in my early 20s, I've been doing that consistently. I've been speaking on events. I even became an author and wrote a chapter in a book called Young Latina Talks,
Oh,
which gave me direct coaching with some of the greatest speakers out there. And I learned how to become a better communicator. Through all of this. And now the latest thing that I'm up to is, I've become also a full-time MC. Just did a huge conference this week where I am bringing my energy, my enthusiasm, my gifts really to rooms to brighten up those rooms and help accomplish amazing missions that these organizations have. And I'll stop there.
no, no,
But
no. This is this is really amazing. I really want to thank you for sharing that, because your journey and your story is really amazing. And when we talked, just a couple times, was really inspired by some of the things that you were doing. So for some of us, or so for people that were listening who may not know some of your story, And you mentioned your mom, so maybe you can give us a little, let's roll back the time a little bit. Tell us about that journey a little bit, because it may not be as easy as some people have thought. It's not sort of like you just went up, got to college, got into KPMG, were an awesome auditor, then found this other position. So what led up to that?
Yeah, yeah. So let's go back in time. I mean, for those who may not know me, I was actually born in Peru, and I moved to the United States when I was 13 with my mom. So she's my partner in crime. Me and her moved here together. I barely spoke English at the time. We were really figuring life out together, right? The culture, assimilating, getting out there. But for me, I moved here at 13. And so eighth grade was my first full year in the United States. And then I
Wow.
got to do high school. So during those years were my assimilation years. I was a little bit more shy and reserved back then, obviously because of the language barriers. And it's really funny now when I see some of my older professors, they're like, Celeste, oh my God, look at your transformation.
Yeah, I would
Um,
say that it's kind of hard to believe that you were the shy one.
yeah, it's really cool. But so one of the things that's was really important, I think, and has defined who I've become is that from the get-go, as a teenager, I had this thing in my mind of, I just moved to this country. I There's so many things I need to figure out, but I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to be successful, and I'm going to do what I need to do to get there. And that's where many of us are at all times, no matter how old you are, no matter where you are in your career, in your journey. We don't have all the answers. We all start at A and we want to get to Z. The most important thing that you need to have in your mind is, I want to get there. What do I need to do to get there? And the more questions you ask yourself, you're going to find the answers as long as you're looking, as long as you're visualizing it, you're constantly going for it. If you stay if you don't take any action, if you stay at your house waiting for someone to come knock at your door to go give you those opportunities, it's just not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So, ever since I was in high school, I said, what do I need to do to be successful? I worked really hard. I learned English as fast as I could. I got good grades. I got accepted to multiple universities, right? And even at my freshman year in college, I remember going to the career services office and asking, what do I need to do in the next 4 years? So by the time I graduate, I have multiple job offers. I have no idea how I can do that, but what do I need to do now from the get go? So I know that I don't have any issues, because God forbid, I don't want to be in that position where I'm jobless, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, and thank you for sharing that. That is amazing to come here at 13, and we all know what that age is like, also, right? And to
Right.
learn to come into a new culture and a new language, that is it's incredibly inspiring to see what you have done. And I understand a little bit what it's like, because my parents were born in a different country. I was born here, but they didn't have a lot of the I guess I guess to say insights into some of the things that you would do. Like they were always like into education. It was like you have to go to college, you will do this, and they did a great
Mhm.
job. But it's not like they had the know-it-all to say this is what you do in terms of a job interview. This is the type of jobs that you have to get.
Right.
I mean, they grew up in farms in a rural country, so it is inspiring to see that and see what you've done. And the question that I keep thinking about is, because this podcast is about sort of core values and what it means to you and what it means to your life. Have you had an opportunity to reflect and to say, what are those core values that you have? Because we can clearly see through your behaviors and your actions and your successes what's happening. But what are those core values that you think, if you reflect upon, come up for you? What do they mean to you?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. I would say for me, some of my core values are positivity, determination, and community. So a lot of what I do will be based on those things, starting by whatever room I walk into, I want to be a positive light, make people smile, help them look at the positive that we have around us and the beauty that it is to be living every day, to dance more, to smile more. That's why oftentimes you'll see me just with a big smile on my face. That's, I think, number one. Number two, determination is really important to me because I believe that people do what you do, not what you say. So I need to take action and be about it in order for me to tell anyone anything about what to do. So if I've always believed that I need to be the example, and just by me being the example, I'm going to create huge impact. So if I want to tell someone, go work out and eat healthy, well, am I doing it?
Mm.
If I want to tell someone, be a better public speaker and use your voice with power, well, am I doing it? Am I standing up in my relationships? Am I standing up at work? Am I working towards getting better every day at these skills that I used to struggle with? And I mean, it's a never ending journey, right? So to me, and there's a, I hope I don't say this wrong, but there's a
Even
quote,
if
a
you do, who
famous
cares? I'm sure we will.
there's a quote that it says, if you want to change the world, you need to change yourself first.
Mm.
That's like on my core. I really believe that. And even with children, for those who are listening, if you have kids, you know that you can tell your kids something, but at the end of the day, they're gonna repeat what you do more than anything, right? I know, for instance, my mom, um, one of the things that we're not the best at, and we struggle a little bit with, is sometimes being on time for things. With work things, I'm pretty good at, but you know, if I have a dinner, have this, sometimes I'm running late. And my mom would tell me, we were growing up, you know, you have to be on time, you have to work on that. But she would always be late. So I kind of learned that in a way from her. So that's just a silly example, right? But determination, making sure that I'm walking the walk, and I'm doing and I'm working hard continuously going forward. And lastly, I said community. Um, Coming from another country, I realized the privilege that I now have, the opportunities that I now have. So I believe that if I don't give back, that's incredibly selfish of me, because I know how many people don't have access to the knowledge, the experiences that I've had. And even though I'm young, right? Because I've started to share my journey on social media in my early 20s. And some people may say, well, you're young. Well, like, what? No, I disagree with that, because just because you're young does not mean that you have no value to add. Your experiences matter. And I've had that mindset from the get go, because if whoever it is, you don't know where anybody is at in their journey. I want to give that continuously. You know, you also create content on social media. A lot of this work that we're doing is free, right? But but it's beautiful because the rewards that you get from helping others and giving back, it just comes back to you some way, somehow. So those are the main things I would say that drive me continuously.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And yes, it is good to be an amplifier because social media has given us that platform to do that. So that has been kind of cool. Um, Again, it's very inspiring to hear that. It's very refreshing, right? And I love talking to people who, and you obviously have this passion. If people can't see that or hear that, then I don't know. There must be something wrong. But where did this all come from?
Oh, I mean, this, what would you say? This passion of mine and just the way I am.
Yeah, so the values that you're talking about, determination, community, sort of, and all those types of things. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, some people have told me that I have an old soul. And perhaps it is because I definitely also had somewhat of a difficult childhood. My parents split up when I was 8 years old. I did experience some toxic relationship, parenting at the time. We moved around a lot. My first 10 years of my life, until 13, I moved to the United States. We probably moved about 5 times. Even I lived in Canada for a few years. I
Wow.
moved within Peru. So my life was filled with constant change. And if we talk about divorce, for instance, I think I'm pretty good at learning lessons very early on and taking things seriously. Because as a child, if anybody has experienced divorce, it's very difficult, right? That people, if you look at the traumas and you go look up on the internet, what are the top traumas that people experience? Divorce is up there for children. And obviously, when my parents first got divorced, that was something that I was upset about. But because I also understood that they were experiencing a really toxic relationship, probably within a few years, by my early teens, I was able to realize, you know what? This is for the better. My parents are better off apart. I could have a better experience with them individually because they were in together. And I accepted that quickly. I didn't hold on to that misery for years, right? So I think experience and then moving, living with my father for a few years and living with my mother for a few years, then moving away from my family in Peru, all those things I think made me mature fast. And I could have dwelled on my hardships or just thought, this is my life. This is the cards that I was handled. What am I gonna do about it? And I was able to kind of make those realizations in my early teens, right? And I also recall in when I started college, looking at myself and doing a lot of personal development work where I realized that I could see some of the toxic traits within myself that I had maybe inherited from my parents, and said, I need to work on this ASAP. I'm never going to be successful if I don't work on that. So my personal development has just been something that's always been very dear to my heart that I've worked on continuously. I think that's perhaps probably where a lot of the passion comes, and just I'm very grounded. I'm very grateful. Positivity. My mom is a very positive person, so probably I learned that from her as well. But yeah, it's just I think accepting the cards that you've been dealt, and always asking. Most of us I ask ourselves, why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? And there's other hard things I could say too that I've been through, but I think that's enough. And it's not about asking why it happened to you, right? It's about asking, God gave you these experiences because you were meant to go through them, and they're making you stronger. So what are you going to do about it?
That's amazing.
What are you going to do about it?
That is amazing. Well, I went on your website and I was looking, and what was also inspiring. By the way, great website. What's the web? Give everybody the website.
Yes, it's my name is www.celesteleon.co, not .com.
Excellent. And there was a couple things that were really cool. And I'm curious how they link to what you talked about: positivity, determination, and community, because you go on to say that, like, sharing stories and connections with others and embracing creativity. You talk about that, and it's funny when I say those words, I hear them in what you're saying. Now, has that sort of come out of your positivity, determination, and community?
Yes, I would say so, because another thing I'm really passionate about that I help people with now is public speaking, right? So I coach a lot of women and a little bit of men too on how they can be better communicators, how they can public speak better, and we all have stories to share. I'm passionate about it because that's something I went through, my own ability to communicate better and learn the language and now be on stages and do it myself, right? So I know what it's like to be afraid of using your own voice. I know what it's like to not know exactly how to go about it. So I'm very passionate about that. So it makes me happy to see people sharing their story, sharing their voice. Because Thomas, think about how many times you've heard somebody else share their story and you're like, oh my God, I needed to hear that. Like, people don't realize the power that they have by being authentic, by sharing, using their voice. And that's something I love about emceeing, that I am a facilitator in helping pull out the magic in people. Um, because I just know the impact that you just have no idea who you're impacting at all times,
How was
right?
that? How
So
was that first emceeing gig that you got? I mean, were you nervous? Like, how did that come about? It was sort of like, hey, did somebody ask you? Did you seek it out?
yeah.
How did that happen?
So the first one I ever got was probably like 4 years ago. And fun fact, I participated in a couple beauty pageants when I was younger. And somebody first invited me to MC a beauty pageant. They said, Celeste, you seem like you're a great communicator. You've done beauty pageants, which means that you'll be able to connect with the girls really well because you have that experience. So why don't you come on and co-MC with someone else? And I said, yeah, I'll do it. That sounds fun. I can do that. So I went ahead, did it. I wasn't nervous. Absolutely. I think we're all nervous for public speaking engagements a little bit. But it went well. Then I got invited to do another one. Then people started seeing me and they're like, Celeste, why don't you come MC my daughter's Sweet 16 or quinceañera?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Then from there, more things came. And then they were like, Celeste, come to this community event. And it just kind of propelled slowly. And it was really last year when I said, hold on, this is a career. This is not just a little side thing that I could do, because obviously initially I wasn't charging or anything. And now I'm just, it's amazing. It's so fun, and it's just such a way to use my skills to help the missions of other amazing organizations.
Yeah, that's very cool. I mean, you can see how community and sort of positivity flow through that for sure. I mean, there's no doubt. How is this how is this journey thus far solidified your values, or do you double down on them when it's time of crisis? If there's things that sort of challenge you, or what happens when you're in when things don't go so well, as we know a lot of times they don't.
Absolutely. My values drive everything that I do. Everything that I do. 1000%. And everybody should, I think, do that. It's how you can be the most authentic person at all times. And even when I'm having a hard time, because as I think as we get older, there's new situations that come our way that we've never handled before, right? Something, some obstacle comes, or perhaps there's a new fight you're having, not fight, or a discussion with people, whether it is work or it's personal. And sometimes you will be, um, you just don't know how to react. You don't know at the time what's the best thing that you can do. Sometimes it's okay to ask for help. I've, this past couple of years, I actually did go to therapy to manage some of those things, and really go back to my core values. Okay, what is the best thing to do right now? But ultimately, I think my peace of mind is really important. And I don't want the hard things that continue to come my way, because let's be realistic, right? Hard things come at us all the time to dim that spark. So to
Yeah.
me, I have this light, right? I have this spark. I want to be someone that walks into a room and brightens it. So to me, if something in my life is dimming my light, I know something is wrong. That to me is a red flag, right? That's something that's relating to my value.
That is amazing. Thank you for sharing that, because I will be honest, if I had that insight when I was starting my career, when I was doing my journey, uh, maybe things, maybe there's different paths or things that would have opened up to me. I'm not saying I have any regrets, but it's just that insight is pretty amazing. And I don't know if you want to share, but there's a sort of a saying that you have that pivots off of the name of your website. You know what I'm referring to?
Is it use your difference to make a difference, or which one?
Yeah, there's that, and then there's the light to success is you.
Yes, yes,
I
yes,
love that.
yes.
And I think what you just articulated is that sometimes maybe people don't, and when I'm hearing you talk about that, I think sometimes maybe people don't realize their light,
Mm-hmm.
and if they do this sort of journey, and that's why I do this, because I'm very curious, because I think soon as people find that awareness, then that's when, to borrow your analogy, the light sort of starts to sort of get stronger. So by you saying that is pretty amazing, and I hope people can sort of understand that. And sometimes doing that journey is not easy.
Yeah, nope, it's not.
It,
Absolutely.
but
No,
it's
thank you
beneficial.
for reading that. What was
No, hey,
that?
listen, I said no. I said no problem. It's and that to hear this is, I think, beneficial, and I think a lot of people hearing that will gain insight out of that.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that resonated, and that's my goal. That's why my podcast is that name, right? The light to success. The light to success is you. We're often here looking for all the answers outside of us. What else can I buy, right? Let's talk about the American, also the capitalistic way of being. How many ads are you getting on your phone all day, every day about
Yeah.
what else you need to be successful and what else you need to be better? Um, and there's some things obviously that can help us, and there's amazing tools out there that absolutely we can use. But right, going back to the light to success is you. Ultimately, you are going to define that path, that journey, what fulfills you, because what fulfills you, Thomas, may not be what fulfills me, Celeste, right? And whoever's listening, that's the same thing for you. So the light to success is you, my friends. You need to embrace who you are, let that intuition and the values, right? What your podcast is about, guide your actions at all times. And something that actually goes back to personal branding that I love to tell people is you can look at personal branding two ways, right? One is your persona, your values, like you're saying, who you are as a person, the experience I have when I talk to Thomas. The other side of personal branding is building your more professional part of you, right? Your experience, what you've done, the speaking engagement you're doing, the podcast that you're doing, the job you that just hired you, and sharing those experiences. Now, the professional side, that will change over time, right? What you
Mhm.
were doing 10 years ago is not what you're doing now. Maybe what you do in 5 years, you'll have another project, maybe from the podcast or something else, right? That changes. But the person who is Thomas, the values that Thomas has, the experience I have of talking to you and feeling who you are, that should never change, right? Because that's your authenticity. That's who you are as a person. And whether you're in construction or you're in sales or you're in podcasting or you're in whatever industry, who you are shouldn't change, right? You only get better if anything, but those core values that you talk about, they remain the same for all of us.
I could not have said it better. And that to me is pretty amazing. So you've had this amazing journey thus far. Where's it going next? Where are you going?
Yeah, well, I'm really excited to share with you that my next big project is that I will be a TV host for Telemundo here in Nashville. And I'm really, really, really excited. We will be starting the first interviews very soon. Telemundo hadn't really had a program here in Nashville, so they're kicking that off. And I am so excited to just be part of that journey with them and grow the program and impact the community.
Well, that is very cool. Thank you for sharing that. I had no idea. So I really appreciate you sharing that. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, you're one of the first people I'm sharing that with. I haven't really shared it on social media, but I'm sure by the time this podcast goes live, it will be all over there.
That's so cool. I'm very excited to see that. So, and there's no doubt in my mind that there's going to be plenty of positivity. There's a lot of determination that'll be talked about, and there'll be a sense of community for sure that you will establish.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it's all going to be about.
If I had to ask you, we'll wrap up in a little bit, and thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Um, I'm really curious. What would be some of the heroes that you have?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I would say my top here that comes to my mind is definitely my mom because she has gone through a lot of difficult things. The divorce completely changed her at the time and she needed time for herself. So for a few years, I didn't see my mother after that. And I only lived with my father. I didn't even really speak to her, maybe like twice a year for a few years until she was ready to come back into my life at 12, 13, at that around that time. And she said, I'm ready. You're going to live with me now.
Wow.
So my mom has had such an insane transformation. And if you saw her today, she's gorgeous, successful, fabulous in so many ways. So she's just a
Like mother,
reminder.
like daughter, right?
Yes, yes. She's just a great example to me that you can overcome whatever has come your way. And no matter how low you get at one point, life keeps going. So she reminds me that certainly all the time. And then other heroes to me, I'm someone that in every stage of my life, I find that person locally as well. Because my mom obviously helped me with really big lessons, but I when we moved here, she couldn't guide me through college and XYZ and different things that she had done her job, right? And I needed to go look for other heroes to help me. Um, and something that I have learned, especially with having a podcast, is oftentimes we like to put people on a pedestal, but I've learned how to get those people on a pedestal and just see if I see greatness in them, that means that I can be that too, and get to know those people and work with them and ask them questions, ask them for mentorship. And oh my God, I have done that a lot because I wouldn't be here where I am without those heroes that I found along the way, whether it has been male professors, female entrepreneurs, my coaches I've had along the way. I would say I have definitely a community of heroes that I continuously love and I cheer on. I'm their fan and I look up to continuously. I probably have a list, but
No, that's cool.
that's up
What
there.
you said, I'm actually gonna write this down because it's really cool. Community of heroes.
Yes.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. I love that. What would be one or two key takeaways that you would want somebody who might be listening to this to walk away with?
Yeah, I would say two things. One is that remember that people cannot read your mind. And it's really important to be crystal clear in your communication. Don't not take it personally if someone misunderstands you if you did not communicate it, right? So oftentimes I know, especially us women, and I've done this too, and I try to work on this all the time, right? We just assume that people know how we feel and what we want. And wrong. Communicate what you want, set your expectations, and doing it in a normal, calm, authentic, beautiful way. So that would be number one. I really work with that with my clients so they get better at communicating. Because if you ask for what you want and someone cannot deliver it, then your answer is right there.
Yeah,
There's nothing to be angry about. You asked, they said no, you take it as what it is. So just reminding people of that. And number two, let your voice be a force to be reckoned with that impacts others for the better. Your voice, the words that come out of your mouth constantly, are seeds that you're embedding into people continuously. So use your voice as a force to make this world a better place.
that's cool. Thank you very much for that. I'm sure people are going to be inspired by this. So if they wanted to reach out and either have you as an MC, understand what you can provide from a personal branding perspective, or be somebody who they want to speak at one of their events, what would be the best way for somebody to sort of reach out and connect and learn more about those things?
Absolutely. Anybody listening, I'm really happy to connect anytime. You can reach out to me on Instagram or on LinkedIn. My name is Celeste Leon. Or feel free to email me. My email is celeste@celesteleon.co, like the website, CO, not COM.
Cool. And we'll put that information in the show notes if anybody wants to reach out. Celeste, this was an absolute pleasure. I was very excited to have you on, and you totally delivered. So I can't thank you enough for doing this. And I think that you're going to have amazing successes going forward. So thank you for sharing a little time and some of your insights with us.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you for everything that you're doing. I really appreciate you for inviting me. And let's keep it going.
You got it. Thank you. Let that light to success shine on, especially in you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.